Ideas coming, ideas coming, ideas coming, ideas here. Oh man, oh, only I would know that reference. 1,000 points if you can guess what that's from. You're not getting anything. Hey everybody! Welcome to Channel Donstar. Boy, it's been a while since we looked like it had the camera this way. You know, what was it? The Defendings, I think, were the last videos that ideas coming. I don't know. It just popped in my head, and I started the thing, and I was like, I'm just gonna say it. Oh, it's cracking me up. Why is it cracking me up? It's so stupid. Here's a big hint. Hans Conried. I think it's Hans Conried. Hans Conried. I think, no, it's not. Erase that from the blackboard. Anyway, why am I stalling? Because it's Roger from Channel Donstar, and he likes making 100-hour movies, videos. And we are here today to do a tag video I was tagged. Tag, I'm it. Oh no. Boy, I'm up here today. I don't know. I was just like bored all day and sitting here, and I was like, you know, I should do something. And Dennis has tagged me, and I might as well just do it. And I got everything ready, and I started it, and boom, it's weird. It just came on. Anyway, I was tagged by Dennis of TheBluCorner, or who I like to call the Steelbook King of the world. If you know Dennis, you know he is a big Steelbook collector, and God love him for it. I hope his shelves don't fall down with all the weight of the Steelbooks. But anyway, he had been tagged by, oh, forgive me, I can't think. Maybe I'll put it up here somewhere, or somewhere in the link. I'll put it in the link, or the messages down below of who originated. Shoot the antennae! Who originated the the tag. And Dennis had tagged me, and it's been years. It actually, I think right when I started out, I did a tag, a coffee tag or something. And then maybe another one. I think if you look in my tag playlists, you'll see there's very few videos. But this one's going to be there now. This is a tag about television shows. I should have got a Kleenex. Oh, I got a Kleenex. Always handy Kleenex. Because Roger's nose likes to run ever since he fell and broke it and all that fun stuff. Go back to my trauma tales. You hear about that if you want. Why? Don't even. So it's all about, I know, it's like, get to the point. Yeah, so there's 10 questions, all revolving around television shows that you either love, hate, or, well, I'll just go through the questions. And at the end of this video, I will... There's the burp we haven't heard in months, years. Since the Defending days. Defending's coming back. Anyway, guess who else? I'm just going to go through. Oh, at the end of this, I'm going to tag 4 people. I already know who they're going to be, and you're going to have to wait. Well, unless you look down below, I'll put their links. But yeah, everybody, well, I'll tell that later. Anyway, let's get to this. Let me have a drink of water. Water. All right, number 1. What TV show or shows do you remember Remember the most watching as a kid. That should be remember most watching as a kid. Now, why would they put the in there? I'm talking about grammar, and I shouldn't even have to worry about that. What television show or shows did I remember watching the most as a child? Well, I'm an old fogey. There might be some old stuff in here. Just to give you a little idea. Well, you know that. But I grew up in the 60s, basically 60s, early 70s. I was in my teens in the 70s. But in the 60s is when I was watching television for the first time. I actually, I'm an old man. I saw black and white TV when it changed to color. I remember it was such a big deal. Oh, everybody was so amazed at the colors, the red and the blue and the green. I watched a lot of black and white shows, and one of the shows that I really, really watched, and I still watch, and I have the DVD sets, it only ran 2 seasons, and I would love them to remaster it, kind of like they did with Twilight Zone, and put it on Blu-ray. And I'm talking about The Munsters. Yeah, I love this show. I still do. It's like one of the perfect comedy shows, and what better than it has monsters in it. There was get centered, damn it. The 60s, around 65, 66, there was a big monster boom, a big universal monster. There was Monster Models. Aurora brought them all out. You had this, you had Addams Family. There were monster magazines, Famous Monsters of Filmland, and For Monsters Only, and Castle of Frankenstein, and a bunch of other great magazines I used to collect. We had cards, collectible cards of Outer Limits and the Munsters and things like that. It was a great time. Monsters were everywhere, and you had toys, all kind of toys, monster toys. And this came out right in the heart of that monster time. And I love the monsters. The Munsters. Well, I love the monsters too. But the Munsters is still, when I picked up this DVD set when it came out, I have 2 seasons. This is just the first season. I rewatched them all, and as an adult watching them again, I saw so much more than I remembered as a kid. The performances, especially. Al Lewis he was a genius. His grandpa in this is, Hammond, you can't do that. His mannerisms and his eyes moving around and his eyebrows going up and down, and then of course the great Fred Gwynne. What's a Ute? So Fred Gwynne as Herman, and Lily and Marilyn and little Eddie and Wolf and Spot the dragon dinosaur living under the stairs. Everybody should know this, even if you're a young kid now. I'm sure you might have seen reruns of this, but The Munsters was one of them. These are probably 2 of my favorite childhood shows. And the other one, again, I saw going from black and white into color on its 2nd season. Only lasted 3 seasons. This is worldwide famous. Everybody knows this show. A lot of backlash when it first came out, meaning the critics panned it. They hated it. But yet the audience loved it. And I still love it to this day. Gilligan, my little buddy. Gilligan's Island. I love this show. I can't say enough how another one that should be remastered and put on Blu-ray as a complete series. Only lasted 3 seasons. But gosh, the entire cast, being that there's only 7 of them, was phenomenal. And as slapstick, see, I grew up watching slapstick stuff, and which is why I appreciate a lot of the silent films, like Buster Keaton films and Charlie Chaplin and Keystone Cops, and it was all slapstick. It was all visual. And I also loved the Three's Company. John Ritter, his work in Three's Company. I didn't like Three's Company at all. It was just a bad sitcom in my eyes. But his acting, why am I talking about Three's Company? John Ritter's acting in that was so great. His slapstick was on par. And I'll have to jump ahead and they say the 70s show. Ashton Kutcher, man, those early seasons, he had some great slapstick in there, and I think he hurt himself quite a bit. Anyway, Gilligan's Island, great. I loved it as a kid, and I actually still love it today. Number 2, boy, how long was that? We're now only on number 2. What TV show or shows do I love the most that I can't get enough of? Well, apart from the old classics, which I always, it's like if I'm bored and I have nothing, and I'll just pull an Addams Family and I'll throw that in, or a Munsters. They're 20 minutes, But recently, there are 2 shows that I must have watched at least 4 times already, from beginning to end. The old, when binging came out. Every day I would come home from work and I'd watch at least 1 or 2 episodes of this show until it was from beginning to end. And every time I watched it, I never got bored of them. I never tired of them. I was anticipating coming home that night to watch another episode or 2 of these shows. And they are relatively new shows, and I have 2 of them. And it's hard to say which one I like the most. And they both actually have a nice arc. They start and then they finish. They have a concluding episode. One kind of. But it does conclude things. Anyway, the first one is Fringe. I love frickin' Fringe, man. I never watched this on its own. This is a heavy-ass box. This is the whole 5 season. I'm just going to hold it like that instead of... I don't care. Fringe... I heard when this show was on, and I heard little things, that alternate universes, and it's, it's kind of like X-Files, and, with a different type of monster or killer of the week type of thing. And when this set came on sale, it was in my heyday of buying everything on Blu-ray. And this set came down real cheap, the entire series, the 5-series set. And you could probably get it like on a sale type of thing, real cheap, maybe down to $40. And I would suggest you pick it up if you've never seen this show. When I first saw this, I was floored by it. I had no idea how much I would love these characters, fall in love with these characters. Walter, my God. And the way the first season was very X-Files-like. And then the second season, they introduced another type of storyline. And that kind of followed through to the end. And then the final season was brilliant, the way they kind of, without giving spoilers, you were flash forwarded into the future type of thing. And it was just amazing. It's a great, I got to get going. This is a great show. I can't get enough of this one. The other one, you like Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, you'll like Farscape. Farscape, man. I frickin' love this show. Another one that I would set like a few months aside and say I'm going to binge watch this from beginning to end. And it's another big box set with 4 seasons. And then there's a spin-off, not a spin-off, but it's a final movie called The Peacekeeper Wars, which wraps things up, brings everything kind of to an end. It actually does. Which isn't available on Blu-ray in the U.S. You have to import, which I do. You have to import the Peacekeeper Wars, the final season of this, or movie, from the UK. Which, it's like, why isn't the Peacekeeper in America on Blu-ray? I know it's on DVD. Anyway, Farscape. Yeah, like I said, Guardians of the Galaxy. You have an astronaut that gets sucked into some kind of time vortex wormhole, and he comes out and he gets rescued or picked up by this ship, which turns out to be a bunch of convicts who stole this ship, which is living. And they're all different alien races, each one of the characters. One is like a plant woman, another one is this barbarian, another one is this king from a world where he's just like this little Muppet. And Jim Henson had a lot to do with it. There's a lot of Muppet work, if you would call it Muppets, but animatronics with characters. And Pilot, my gosh, Pilot. This goes from hilarity, because what I was going to say, Guardians, the astronaut that comes on, he's always making these Danger Will Robinson or, these quips from our time, and these other characters from outer space have no idea what he's talking about. But as a viewer, you're enjoying this thing. It's so great, and it has highs and lows. It gets serious. It gets scary. It gets Scorpius. It gets weird. It gets it's great. It's great. Let's move on. Farscape. Number 3. What are the weirdest television shows you've ever watched? Well, I have 2. One is definitely a weird one, and I enjoy it to death. The first one I'm going to show is a classic, and it's not really weird, but I found it weird watching it as a kid, and when they were starting to bring them out on DVD, which unfortunately they stopped, I believe, after the 4th season, and I think this went on for 8 seasons. It's one of those classic ones from the 60s, and I always say it's a show that if Rod Serling was hired to do a comedy show, this is what he would have done, and it's Green Acres. Green Acres is kind of a weird fish out of water. You got Eddie Albert there and Zaza, and they buy this broken down farm, and all these weird, bizarre characters and odd situations start happening. And it's like a Rod Serling crazy, they paint the farmhouse, and then all of a sudden they're woken up at night because they hear this moaning, and it's because the house is suffocating, and it's so bizarre, it's so great, and it's so hilarious. I love Green Acres. Another childhood favorite, but I saw that later in my years, like in my teen years. But that's a weird show. That's a weird comedy. But if you really want to talk about weird, this was a cable show, I believe. Comedy Central, maybe? Adult Swim. Tim and Eric, awesome show. Great job. The Tim and Eric characters, man, Tim Heidecker and Eric, you know him. This is bizarre. When I first saw a couple episodes of this, I had no idea what I was watching. It was like that. And the best way to describe it is it's like if you ever had early cable television, and you'd be flipping through the channels and you come across the public access channels, where it's just one camera and it's a tiny little weird set, like 2 chairs and a fern, and there's 2 people talking, and the camera's constantly off and moving around, and there's musical acts, and there's bad people singing, and that's what each episode of this is like. There are these weird little sketches, and I have some notes here, because the cool thing about this is a lot of really good actors and comedians were in this show. You had Zach Galifianakis in this, and a lot of skits. He developed that Beyond or Behind the Fern interview show that he did, and he actually in one of them came back and actually interviewed Barack Obama. You had Will Forte, John C. Reilly as Dr. Steve Brule, which just look up Dr. Steve Brule on YouTube and you'll see the funniest thing you've ever seen John C. Reilly do. Bob Odenkirk also in here. Before Saul, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. He's hilarious. But this is the weirdest show I think I've ever seen. Tim and Eric, awesome Tim and Eric, awesome show. Great job. That's weird, man. Okay. Oh, what TV show or shows did I want to hate but ended up loving them? Well, this show I heard so much hype for. So much hype for. When I hear about shows, it's funny. There are times when I would watch a show, 1 or 2 seasons, and nobody's watching it. And then all of a sudden something happens and clicks, and the media gets a hold of it, and this huge fan base grows, and everybody's talking about it. Sopranos was like that. When the first 2 seasons of Sopranos I was watching, nobody cared for it. And then all of a sudden it became this mega hit. Breaking Bad. Nobody was watching those early seasons. I was trying to tell everybody, watch the show, it's phenomenal, it's great. Nobody would watch it. And then boom, it became big. Then there are the shows that everybody praises right from the beginning. And for some reason, I always build this wall. And I say, can't be that good. Can't be that good. I've seen too much TV and things in my life that when a show comes out and they hype it, it's all hype. Game of Thrones. Man, I had no inkling to watch this show at all. When I started, God, I was hooked. Instantly hooked. All 6 seasons. I think there's 6, and then the final one is coming, which is going to be split. Can't wait to finish it. I apologize to all those people that I says, I'm not watching that show. That show's garbage. This show is phenomenal. I frickin' loved it. So yeah, as a show that I had no desire to watch, I wanted to hate it. I started watching it and I fell in love with it. Game of Thrones. Number 5. We're only up to 5? Boy, I talk so frickin' much. What movie or which movie would I like to see as a television show? I have a few. I would think, I love anthologies. I really love anthology shows. I miss the Tales of the Crypt, Tales from the Crypt. I miss Twilight Zone. There was a handful of others that everybody forgets. And I think, being that this movie was based on a number of comics, EC comics that came out and were trashed, and parents didn't want children to see them. But Romero and Stephen King came along and they made Creepshow. And I think Creepshow would make a great television show. They have an abundance of stories. All they have to do is go back to the old comics, like they did with Tales from the Crypt when it was on television, and just use those stories and film them, because there's a lot of people that aren't just going to read those comics, and make a television show, a weekly show, possibly an hour, possibly with 1 long story, or possibly with 2 every half hour. Creepshow television show, I think, would be fantastic. Another one I think would be kind of cool is a television show about a hero who keeps foiling the plot and the plans of an alien race. Let's see a They Live television show. You don't have to get, well, sadly he passed away, but just get a hero in there. Get somebody in here as that character. And every week, having an hour show, every week the aliens are trying to take over and he basically foils their plans at the end. It sounds like a 70s type show, where it's just very repetitious, but I think it would be kind of cool. If you get a lot of good writers, you can come up with some cool stuff, and it'll be a cool little sci-fi horror type show. They Live would make a good television show. The last one I thought would be kind of cool, which was a big spoiler at the end of this movie, is Source Code. Source Code, you found out that he is on this train trying to prevent this bomb from going off, and for whatever reason, it's like a Groundhog Day. When the thing blows up, he's back in the same spot, and he's got to repeat and try to do something differently to stop the bomb. What about the same character? And I'm not going to spoil of who he is, where he is, why it's happening. If you've seen the movie, you know this. But it'd be kind of cool that every week they give him these little missions to stop terrorism, to stop a murder, to stop something. Every week you get a little source code, and I think that would be a kind of cool television series. Unique, different, I don't know, something different. Number 6, what's my favorite horror television show or shows? There's been a lot. One of them being Night Gallery, the Rod Serling show he did in the 70s. There are so many really frightening stories in that. But if I have to go to my favorite, and I'll say it, it's the Monster of the Week television show from the 60s, not the reboots, not the ones that came out in, I believe, the 80s and possibly the 90s, but the original, The Outer Limits. There is nothing wrong with your television set. This is the full series, which is fantastic. Needs to be remastered like Twilight Zone, please. This was a show that freaked the hell out of me, scared me as a kid. Like I said, every week there was a weird monster. The makeup, the special effects, the stories were brilliant. Some of them were just amazing. An amusement park rocket ride where it turns out they're actually in outer space when it takes off. The Xanty Misfits, the little ants with the human heads that were sent down here to be destroyed from another planet because their planet believes in not killing their own race. So they know the Earth is a warring and murderous planet, so they send them here. Same with the mice. I think that had a similar... Anyway, favorite horror television show, the original Outer Limits, the black and white one. Sorry, watch black and white. The cinematography with the shadows and everything are so fantastic in it. Number 7, what television show or shows would I like to see remade or rebooted? Well, there's only one that I could think of. I had a hard time. I was thinking about this, and I could not think of any show I would want rebooted that I would like to see until I came across the idea of it was a movie. It was a sci-fi movie that's kind of cheesy now when you look back, especially the miniatures. But I always was enthralled by the storyline. And in the 70s, they tried to do a television show of it. It didn't even last a full season, I don't think, and it was canceled. And I don't have anything. Oh, I could have used Everybody's like, we don't need to see it. H-I-J-K. I'm going to look for it anyway, damn it. And no, it's up there. I'm not going to get it. Logan's Run, I think, would make... If they can bring it back like they brought back Westworld and make it really, really good. Westworld also had a television show like in the 70s that lasted, I think, 4 or 5 episodes, and it was horrible. I love the original movies. James Brolin, Yul Brynner, Richard Benjamin. Letting the Belches go. But I think it'd be kind of cool to see a new television series, really done well, smart sci-fi of Logan's Run, which for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a society way in the future where you're born with this little crystal on your hand, and when it turns a certain color when you become of age, I believe it's like 21 or 19 or something, you go to the Coliseum. The carousel. You go to the carousel where you basically are put to death. And there are these cops, because people are trying to escape, they want to live longer. There are these cops that are called Sandmen, and they are sent out to get these guys and either kill them or bring them back so they can go to the carousel. And one of these cops is given a mission to escape and then is betrayed. And I don't want to get into that. See the movie. The movie is a great story. It's dated. And the guns are fantastic. But basically it's this cop on the run with another person, and I'm sure they can change it and make. I would be happy to see it be changed and updated and really well done with special effects. And they get out of the city, and then they find out that they're basically in a bubble, and the rest of the world is just deteriorating, and you know, it's great. It's a great story, and I would like to see that be rebooted or remade as a television show. Number 8, what television show or shows would I like to see one more season of? I have 4. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about them. I'll get through this. And surprisingly, all but one is a British show. And I'm going to go with the American show first. This is one of the most amazing shows I've seen. Again, it was one of those shows that I was like, they can't do a television show about this. What are they going to do? And after watching it and following it every season, it only lasted 3 seasons, I had fell in love with the main character, who I thought Anthony Hopkins was the one and only Hannibal Lecter. But no, Mads Mikkelsen, man. Mads Mikkelsen is brilliant as Hannibal Lecter in this. Hugh Dancy as the what is his name? I can't think of his name. As the tortured cop that's dealing with him and other serial killers. This all takes place before Silence of the Lambs. In fact, it kind of ends at the end of the 3rd season. It ends right where Silence of the Lambs would kind of continue on. But they go through, the last season went through the whole Manhunter storyline. But it is done in such a brilliant way. I've never seen crime scenes or gory crime scenes filmed so beautifully. It's a weird thing to say, but I think the reason, and I remember reading a lot online, that the reason this show kind of got canceled is people didn't like that artsy fartsy stuff. They wanted something to keep going, and this was a very slow, moving, moody show that was just beautiful to look at, and some fantastic acting in here. What's her name? Gillian Jacobs? Gillian Anderson. Gillian Jacobs. Gillian Anderson from X-Files is also in this show. A really great show. They ended it on a kind of cliffhanger, but if you then watch Silence of the Lambs, you can kind of see that something is okay, and then the story continues. But anyway, Hannibal is one I would love to see get another season to kind of maybe wrap things up and really push it right into the Silence of the Lambs era. These last 3 are British shows. This was a show when it came out, after about the 2nd season aired, they were calling it all over that it was the Heroes, the show The Heroes, that heroes should have been and wanted to be. And it's called Misfits. It's a UK show about a group of kids that are on a, what do they call that? Where they did a crime and they have to pay, they have to do chores and clean the neighborhood and things like that. I can't think what that's called right now. But a big storm comes along and they all kind of get shocked, and then they realize they all have superpowers. And basically the show is they don't know what their powers are. They're just going along their life until they realize what they have. And then it's this whole weird, scary, should I be using this power? Should we be using this for good, for bad? And it lasted, I believe, 5 seasons. And the reason I say I'd like to have another season of this is because the last episode of the last season was just, it was all right. It was all right. We had a few actors that started out and they dropped out and they got new characters. It was all right, but it just wasn't a nice closure to the show. And I would have loved to see a closure of this. I can't think of the main actor's name, but the gentleman, yeah, he's a gentleman, from Game of Thrones, who plays Ramses, who is the torturer. That's all I'll say. He started out in the show, and he's in every one of the seasons. He's really good. Yeah, so Misfits. I'd like to see one more. This is another one. It's a pseudo-zombie television show that the UK brought out. It's not about Walking Dead, but it kind of is. It's about dead people that are organized, and the government has created a serum that can keep them non-violent and keep them on a steady pace. And they want to go back and do their jobs and things, but it gets very racist-like, where it's like, you're one of the dead, so you should be in that neighborhood. Don't come to our neighborhood. We don't want you, type of thing. Very, very like that. And the show is called In the Flesh. It only ran 2 seasons, I believe, and it got canceled. So it got to a point in the show where it seemed like the serum was really doing something different to the survivors, the dead, and they left it on that cliffhanger. And I would have loved to see one more series of this, either to wrap it all up, especially to wrap it all up if they're going to do one more. And yeah, I enjoyed this. If you've never heard of In the Flesh, check it out. It's a great show. Small seasons, British shows are only like 8 to 10 episodes, and they go by quick, but they're great. They're great. The last one I have is, the show is just phenomenal. I've heard it considered a sci-fi show. I don't think it's a sci-fi show, but it's nothing I've ever seen before. I was in an interview with CP of Will I Like It Reviews, and I told him this was and I believe this was the most beautiful filmed television show I have ever seen. And I'm talking about Utopia, the show nobody's ever watched. Well, they have, because there's a huge fan base of this. Utopia, I can't say much about. It's one of those television shows you have to experience. It only ran 2 seasons. It's frickin' brilliant. It's frickin' beautiful to look at. The color palette, the visual shots, the storyline is amazing. All I'll say is it's a group of people, strangers, that are on this forum board that are just looking around, and they all kind of meet, and they uncover this kind of conspiracy that's happening in the world, and they all decide to meet. And then once they meet, they realize this conspiracy theory is so outrageous that they cannot return to their real lives. They're on the run basically forever now, and trying to foil the conspiracy theory. That's all I'll say. Great stuff, fantastic stuff. When this show was canceled, what's his name? David Fincher was hired to remake it for HBO, and I can think of no other director to redo this, because David Fincher's style is very much like the visuals of this. I'm sure he got this and he could do that, but apparently there was a falling out between him and HBO, and they just dropped that they were going to do it, and so we got this. But it ended again on a fantastic cliffhanger, and I would love to see one more series of this just to complete it, or complete it happy, or complete it not so happy. That's all I'll say. Utopia. Definitely look for this show. Look for this show and watch it. It's phenomenal. Okay. Number 9. These will be quick. What Hollywood actor would I like to see star in his or her own television show? I was scratching my brain too. I could not think of anyone. So I'm going to cheat a little and say the exact same answer that Dennis of TheBluCorner said. Bruce Willis. I think Bruce Willis... I agree with what Dennis was saying, that his movie career is kind of fluttering. He's still acting, he's still up there and doing things, but I think it would be kind of cool to see him come to television, like an HBO or a something on cable where they can get away with violence and swearing and really good, strong drama, and have him be in the show as a cop or something. Yeah, it would be kind of cool to see Bruce Willis come to television and do something regularly, not as a cameo like he did on that 70s show and some other stuff. Number 10, final question. Which TV character do I feel should have died or lived? Again, thinking was hard to think of who would I have wanted to die, who was evil enough to die. And there's quite a few, but they all kind of make sense at the end of the show. I won't mention what shows I was thinking of, but it's like, yeah, they needed to live or they needed to die. I was thinking Hank from Breaking Bad as someone I didn't want to see die, but it all needed to happen to make that show perfect. The only other one I can think of was Dan Connor. Yeah, Dan Connor from Roseanne. That was a shock. That was a shock. I was a big fan of Roseanne. I still am. I have the whole series. That show was groundbreaking when it first came out. And now it doesn't get the appreciation, except from the fans, that it's still a great show. I think it's one of those shows, those great shows that were forgotten, although it's rerun all over the place on all different channels everywhere. But that final season or so, when Dan Connor has the heart attack and passes and disappears, and first it was like a separation, and then it was that, and that was really strong to see. And again, as with even most of the fans, that final season was just not good, where they win the lottery, and it just wasn't good. Roseanne fighting Steven Seagal on the top of a fake train wasn't good. But it kind of, I'll have to say, it kind of redeemed itself in the final minutes of the entire series, where you find out that Roseanne was writing this book, and it turns out that all the characters you watched through this entire series were not the characters you thought they were. They were all different, you know, and married to different characters in the show, and were lesbians or not, and yeah, it was not totally redeemed, but I have no problem with that final bit. It kind of puts a little closure to the series, which I liked. But anyway, yeah, Dan Connor, I think, should have lived, and they should have found a way to end the show however they wanted to end it, or just leave it and have a continuation, you know, sitcom as it was. Okay, yeah, those are my answers. I don't know. Have I been talking for an hour or two? Sorry, folks. I go on and go on and go on. And it's weird because I sit all day and not say a damn thing. The minute the camera's on, blah, 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 blah. All right, now I'm going to tag some people. Tag, you're it. No, don't tag me. Tag, you're it. I'm going to tag 4 YouTubers that I would like to see their answers of. And 3 of them are pretty regulars. One of them is a new YouTuber that I came across. Well, I'll get to that when I get to him. Anyway, the first one that I would like to see do this tag is Dan from Reject Films. Dan and Caius, they're great. I did a Sunday shout out to them, which I really should bring that series back, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there that deserve a shout out. They're not getting enough fans or subscribers or whatever, and they really deserve it. But anyway, Dan from Reject Films, he's a huge horror fan, big horror fan. He just was at, the Ohio Horror Hound Convention or something? I can't think of where it was, but he just went to a horror convention. And go to his channel, Reject Films. All these 4 people, their links will be down. Links to their channels will be down in the message area. So go over to them, give them a watch, and subscribe to them. Thumbs up them and everything. So Dan, you're tagged. Tag. Eric from Hey Internet. Hey Internet, it's Eric. No, it's Hey Eric. Yeah. Damn your name of your channel. Hey Internet, Eric here. That's the name of the his channel. Eric, yeah, you're tagged. Tag. Tell me about your television history, what you like, what you don't like, these questions. The questions will also be down in the message area. Yeah, I'd like to hear your Eric. Eric is a cool YouTuber. He's very new, and he's slowly growing. He's slowly getting a fan base, which is fantastic because he's a great guy, and he does so much on his channel. He has so many different categories and things like that, rants and cartoon commentaries of the old bizarre cartoons of the 80s, and him and his wife collaborate, and it's a great channel. So again, go to Hey Internet, Eric here, and sub to him and watch his videos and like his videos, and you're tagged, Eric. The other one is a gentleman from the UK. Not going to say his name, but he goes by the YouTube name Kermit's Ghost. He was formerly known as The Collector, and I kind of, or he was also a Sunday Shoutout as The Collector. But he had recently changed. I don't know if he had an issue with his YouTube channel or something, but when he kind of came back and he changed his YouTube title to Kermit's Ghost. So Kermit, you're tagged. Tag. Let me hear your TV answers. And the new one that I just I've been watching for about a week now, and I kind of really like the guy. I like his reviews. I like that he's, excuse me, I especially like that he's a 3D fan, and he actually does reviews on 3D movies, which you don't see a lot of. You see people talking about what they've picked up and stuff, but you never see anybody, at least I haven't come across many YouTubers who actually take one movie that's in 3D and talk about it, what the story is, how good the 3D is and everything. And that gentleman's name is LJ Draco. At least that's what he goes as. And the name of the channel is LJ Draco's Movie Channel. Again, the link will be down below. And LJ, consider yourself tagged. Tagged! And, so there you go. I've rambled enough. You've heard my little television history and thoughts on TV and shows. And Dennis, thank you for tagging me. At least you got me to do something and got me to do something different. And I appreciate that. And keep collecting those steel books. Everybody, his link, of course, is going to be down there or up on the banners and everything. Go to Dennis's TheBluCorner channel and sub, and he's another great guy that is really growing, which is fantastic. His channels are growing. But anyway, yeah, it's old Roger D from channel Donstar with a tag video, and hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you continue watching the next video on my channel, whatever that shall be, and until then, we will see you all later. Bye-bye. Don't forget, church or Sunday school on the weekends.